afternoon on this Tuesday, October 8th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Prime Minister Najib Mikati says Lebanon will reconsider the presence of Syrians in the country and check to see if they fit international standards of refugees. More than 13 people have been detained in South Lebanon on suspicion of forming a human smuggling ring. And UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon proposes the formation of a 100-member strong mission to oversee the cataloging and destruction of Syria's chemical weapons stockpile. Lebanon will reconsider the residency of Syrians in the country and check to see if they fit international standards of refugees. These are the words of caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati. Mikati says during a conference held by the Lebanese Palestinian Dialogue Committee that the inspection of the situation of Syrians is one of several procedures to bring undertaken and to ease the burden of the increasing influx of refugees on the country. More than 780,000 Syrian refugees are presently here, according to UN figures. The government puts the figure much higher at approximately 1.3 million. Mikati says that Lebanon respects the humanitarian obligations towards Syrians, but the priority is to safeguard the nation and people and fend off the imminent dangers introduced by the influx of refugees coming from Syria. He also called on political factions to turn to national dialogue to overcome Lebanon's stalemate. More than 13 people have been detained in the south of the country on suspicion of forming a human smuggling ring. The Army Intelligence, in cooperation with the International Security Forces Information Branch, arrested the members of the ring off the coast of South Lebanon. The sources said the detainees are Lebanese, Syrian, and Palestinians. They added that the Army Intelligence arrested the alleged ring while they were aboard a boat between Tyre and Saida shores. The sources added the boat, named Elisar, was destined for Italy. This comes just as last month a boat carrying over 69 Lebanese intending to illegally enter Australia sank off the Indonesian coast, killing at least 27 people. In the framework of his regular meetings with different political factions, President Michel Sleiman met with head of the Loyalty to the Resistance Bloc MP Mohamed Raad, with talks focusing on the ongoing efforts to form a government and the necessity to distance Lebanon from the Syrian crisis. Briefing Raad on his latest meetings in New York, where he attended UN General Assembly sessions and a conference of the International Support Group for Lebanon, Sleiman reflected the international assertion that Lebanon should distance itself from the Syrian crisis on the basis of respect for the Babda Declaration, which calls for keeping Lebanon away from the unrest in the neighboring country. Sleiman was clear and stressed the importance of halting involvement in the Syrian turmoil, reiterating the need to spare Lebanon any additional disturbances. The president had previously stated that he is against Hezbollah's engagement in battles in Syria and has therefore held discussions with the party's leadership to withdraw its fighters. The 9 Lebanese pilgrims that were being held in Syria's Azaz region will likely be released within the upcoming hours. According to Al-Akhbar newspaper, they were moved to a safe location at the Syrian-Turkish border, which lies under Turkish security ahead of their imminent release. Moreover, it cited General Security Chief Abbas Ibrahim's trip to Qatar on Monday as a promising sign that a breakthrough will be achieved in this case. Safir newspaper reported on Tuesday that Ibrahim had held talks before traveling to Qatar with the Turkish ambassador to Lebanon, Inan Ozildis, and representatives of the relatives of the pilgrims. Upon his return to Lebanon, he held talks with President Michel Sleiman, Speaker Nabih Berri, caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati, and caretaker Interior Minister Marwan Sharbil to inform them about his talks in the Gulf state. Pope Francis is planning to kick off a tour to the Middle East that would include Lebanon to express the Vatican's solidarity with the people of the region who are confronting tremendous challenges. According to Safir newspaper published on Tuesday, the pontiff's visit to Lebanon is on his 2014 schedule, where he's set to express the Catholic Church's concern over the fate of the Christians in the Middle East. The Daily said that the Pope's visit is to urge Christians to hold on to their land and to send a message to the world that it's time to reach viable solutions to fortify peace in the region. The meeting will set a roadmap for all the patriarchs to maintain the historic legacy of the Eastern Christians and activate their presence. Pope Francis met with President Sleiman at the Vatican in May, and the two men discussed the ethnic diversity in Lebanon and the importance of dialogue and collaboration among the different ethnic communities. 10 people were killed in 3 separate attacks in Egypt, most of them soldiers and police officers, in a fresh round of violence that followed violent clashes across the country one day earlier. The deadliest attack was in the Suez Canal city of Ismailia, east of Cairo, where masked gunmen opened fire on an army patrol. 6 soldiers were killed, including a lieutenant. Meanwhile, on Sinai, a suicide car bomber attacked the security headquarters in the southern city of El Tor. 4 people were killed, including the bomber, and 55 were injured. Mohammed Ibrahim, the Interior Minister, confirmed that the attack was a suicide bombing and said it was meant to distract people and cause instability. Now, near-daily attacks on the peninsula have escalated in the 3 months since the Egyptian army ousted President Mohamed Morsi, but this was among the first in the South Sinai, the popular tourist destination which has been mostly quiet for years now. Russian President Vladimir Putin says that Syria is very actively cooperating with chemical weapons inspectors and suggested that Indonesia join international peace talks on the crisis. Doubts about whether the Syrian leadership would adequately respond to the decision taken on chemical weapons, these doubts did not bear out. Russian news agencies quoted Putin as telling reporters at a regional summit in Indonesia. Putin added that Moscow would welcome large Muslim nations such as Indonesia joining Syria peace talks that the United States and Russia hope will take place in Geneva in mid-November. Putin said he had discussed the progress of Syria's disarmament with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, who was standing in at the Indonesian summit for President Barack Obama, who is grappling with the budget crisis back in Washington. Putin stressed that Russia and the United States are largely in agreement over how to deal with Syria, despite Moscow's continued backing for Assad. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is proposing the formation of a 100-member strong mission to oversee the cataloging and destruction of Syria's chemical weapons stockpile, according to a letter from the UN chief to the Security Council. Ban said that international chemical weapons inspectors and support staff are operating in a dangerous and volatile environment, and that such a mission, to be conducted in 3 phases and ending on June 30th, 2014, was unprecedented. The joint mission of the UN and the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons will seek to conduct an operation the likes of which, quite simply, have never been tried before. Ban said in a report to the UN Security Council that a team of 19 OPCW and 16 UN inspectors had already been sent to Syria as part of an advance team, but that the overall mission would involve as many as 100 people and would be based in Cyprus. Coming up next, Turkey lifts a ban on women wearing the Islamic headscarf in state institutions. Stay with us. A U.S. interrogation team is questioning the alleged senior al-Qaeda figure who was seized by Special Operations Forces in Libya and then whisked onto a Navy ship in the Mediterranean Sea, according to U.S. officials. Nazih Ragie, better known by the cover name Abu Anas al-Libi, is being held aboard the USS San Antonio, an amphibious transport duck ship. He is being questioned by the U.S. High Value Detainee Interrogation Group, an interagency unit created in 2009 and housed in the FBA's National Security Branch. The group specializes in garnering information from suspects to prevent planned attacks. A suspect in the 1998 bombings of the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania that killed 224 civilians, Libby was captured on the streets of Tripoli on Saturday and quickly taken out of the North African country. The successful capture of Libby and a failed weekend attempt by U.S. commandos to capture an al-Shabaab leader in Somalia offered evidence that the U.S. is still willing to use ground troops to seize wanted figures. In Turkey lifts a ban on women wearing the Islamic headscarf in state institutions, ending a decades-long restriction as part of a package of reforms meant to bolster democracy. The ban, whose roots date back almost 90 years to the early days of the Turkish Republic, has kept many women from joining the public workforce, but secularists see this abolition as evidence of the government pushing an Islamic agenda. The new rules, which will not apply to the judiciary or the military, were published in the official gazette and take immediate effect in the majority Muslim but constitutionally secular nation. The debate around the headscarf goes to the heart of tensions between religious and secular elites, a major fault line in Turkish public life. Critics of Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan sees his Islamist-rooted AK party as seeking to erode the secular foundations of the republic, founded on the ruins of the Ottoman theocracy by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk in 1923. Clashes have broken out in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil as striking teachers and their supporters took to the streets to protest against salary levels and a police crackdown on earlier demonstrations. Organizers rallied thousands in the center of the Brazilian city on Monday night to demonstrate for the teachers who are demanding pay increases and an overhaul of the education system. Protesters also spoke out against what many consider to be an excessive use of police force on demonstrating teachers a week ago. The demonstrators have already rejected the government's proposals of a 15% pay raise. The protest began peacefully, with demonstrators occupying one of Rio's major downtown boulevards. According to police, about 10,000 protesters filled the streets. The teachers' union, however, put that figure at closer to 50,000 people. This year's London Zwetfest is showcasing the trend of living raw, a plant-based diet where food isn't heated above 48 degrees Celsius. Now, if you're looking for new recipes and inspiration when it comes to living a meat-free life, this is the place to be. One of the focuses this time round is the raw food diet, which is made up of completely uncooked and unprocessed foods, often referred to as live. By dieting purely on raw foods that haven't been cooked over 48 degrees Celsius, raw eaters believe the high enzymes, which are usually destroyed by cooking, frying, or boiling food, are preserved, thus giving greater health and putting less pressure on the body. Raw food expert Stephanie Jeffs is a strong believer in the benefits of a raw food diet, having found the potential for rapid weight loss through high raw and high plant-based eating. But raw food diets aren't just about carrots and crudities. The range also includes a whole variety of other items, ranging from cheesecakes to vegetable curries.
Raw food helps the body cleanse and detox, which is the body's natural state. We every day detox our bodies, but the function of detoxing is very often blocked with processed foods, by cigarettes, by eating meat, dairy, and it's a body that doesn't really move very much. What raw foods then does is just cleanses the body and gives the body the chance to say, oh, great, we're going back to our natural our natural function.
It's becoming much easier to do because people are creating recipes, more and more recipes that use everyday ingredients. There are raw restaurants and cafes popping up left, right and centre. It's become quite fashionable, raw food. There's quite a lot of celebrities and models who are also into it. And also I think because people are getting a bit disillusioned with the mainstream medical way of dealing with health, people are trying to see what they can do to improve their well-being.
Our attitude to raw food is slightly different, as you know, we believe in fan food, in a tasty food. So we're using only fresh vegetables to create our recipe. So tomato pizza, it's just sun-dried tomatoes. There is a buckwheat, different spices, fresh, parsleys, to create a really mouth-watering taste.
We try to create like a little bit more complex dishes using different spices and herbs, marinating, fermenting, dehydrating, spiralizing. You can create different textures and flavors just by the way you cut the veggies and the sauces that you dip them in, and it's actually a very flavors and cuisine.
All the properties that this cereal or this nut has, for instance the rice or the oats or the walnut or the hazelnut, you keep all that because you're not cooking it, and you know that when we're cooking or boiling or frying anything, many things are going.
Marks the end of our bulletin for today. Let me remind you of our top stories. Prime Minister Najib Mikati says Lebanon will reconsider the presence of Syrians in the country and check to see they fit international standards for refugees. More than 13 people have been detained in the south of the country on suspicion of forming a human smuggling ring. And UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon proposes the formation of a 100-member strong mission to oversee the cataloging and destruction of Syria's chemical weapons stockpile. Those are your Tuesday headlines live on Future Television. I'm Yuna Naufal in Beirut, wishing you all a good night.